This is Thomas Miles, nephew Tommy from the Steve Harvey Morning Show. As a radio personality, comedian, actor, and producer, I know what type of hard work and dedication it takes to make an impact in the world of arts and entertainment. MPAC Performing Arts Collective, a nonprofit for visual and performing arts, is doing just that. MPAC's mission is to cultivate the interests of visual and performing arts by exposing, educating, and entertaining. MPAC is dedicated to the formation of avenues into the professional world of arts and entertainment through several of its programs, including It's a Rap, Playhouse Theater, and MPAC Jazz. Through these programs, MPAC has launched film festivals, TV forums, music symposiums, comedy series and showcases, jazz shows, theater productions, acting and comedy workshops, and much, much more. All in an effort to create platforms for emerging talent and create access to industry insiders in an effort for those seeking careers in arts and entertainment to be successful. As a proud member of its advisory board, I would like you to support MPAC as a volunteer or as a donor. Please visit impact-arts.org today.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to the MPAC Speaker Series. I would first like to thank our sponsor, Country Financial. My name is Althria Goebel, and I am proud to be your host for today. And we're going to be talking to Mr. Geno Brooks. Geno is a filmmaker hailing from Chicago, Illinois, most known for his new media projects, including award-winning digital series, The Therapist, the Greek life digital series Black Boots, and latest love story Jones. Brooks was an integral part of a creative collective which amassed an audience of over 80,000, and now he has successfully built the digital streaming network and SVOD service Standard TV, that showcases not only more of his original content, but supports rising, bold voices and talent, giving them a space to hone their craft. Geno has created the exciting new Bear the Torch mentorship plus apprenticeship emerging BIPOC filmmakers program. So Geno, you are a producer, writer, actor, and director. Can you tell us about your journey into the film industry?
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you. Pleasure to meet you and finally be here. But yeah, I mean, my journey into filmmaking was one of I would like to say a non-traditional route. Yeah, I was someone that was I played sports. I was a creative. I was always the one that, was the guy with the camera in my hand and taking pictures, writing poems, and eventually that thing grew into, I used to love this TV show called Different Strokes and Silver Spoons. So I was like, one day I want to be a part of that world. And my love for photography grew into understanding how to frame and how to tell story. So then eventually I moved to LA, and I started writing, directing, and producing short films and web series, what they would call at the time. And that grew into opportunities to work for studios and mentors that I have in my life. So I like to kind of think of it a non-traditional route. Got my bachelor's degree in one thing and my master's degree in another. Had totally unrelated kind of fields.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So balancing can be challenging. How do you manage multiple roles as a director, writer, and producer? And do you find that each role informs the others?
It's funny you asked me that because my studies, I feel like what I went to school for rehabilitation, mental health, and therapy and things of that sort. That's kind of how my first digital series came about, called The Therapist. So I like to kind of say my education informs my character into my world, right? I study behavior, I study mental health. So my first interaction was like, oh, how do they do this? Or how would one react to this if you put them in this situation? But as far as time management, it's been a skill set that's grown over the years, I would say. But as a boutique production company, the Artistic Standard Productions, what we do is, we maximize our opportunities and our talents. And I think as we start to do that and grow project by project, and the team started to grow, it was easier for me to manage my time. So, a combination of what I went to school for and how it builds my world, but just repetition and working on smaller budgets, if you would, having to do everything from holding the mic to also holding the camera to, giving direction to the actors. It's a lot that went into my early parts of my career that I think helped hold me to who I am today.
Well, I'm sure what you got your degree or your education in kind of leads into the director portion of how you collaborate with your cast and crew.
Right.
And did you find that was helpful, as far as knowing how to, hear horror stories about directors on set? And
20 minutes, bro. Okay. All right, bro. I'm in an interview right now. Okay. Give me 2 seconds, brother. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you feel like it actually did help with your collaboration with your cast and crew, your background in behavior?
I'm sorry, what was the question? He threw me off.
Like, oh, hold up. As a director, how do you approach collaboration with your cast and crew?
I'm an actor too. Was another one of the things. So I started off in acting, and that helped build me to, first of all, I can understand how to handle a character and how to handle, how to talk to to actors. I think that's a huge skill set. And again, what I went to school for, therapy and things of that sort, helped lend to how I manage my crew, speak to my talent, and get my shots. Because again, I came from the, understanding the camera. So it's a combination of all those things, Hopefully I answered the question. He kind of threw me off. I'm gonna move because, move out. Today has been one, but yeah. So that's kind of what I do. I manage my crew and my staff by repetition. I'm an actor first that started to write and direct. My apologies for moving, but I'm not.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah. Got settled that he would come in here as soon as I get going.
The best laid plans of mice and men, right?
Yeah. So let me grab my book bag, and then we'll be ready. All right, 10 seconds.
No problem. I hope everyone is having a beautiful Saturday while we're waiting on our speaker to get settled. And again, thank you for joining us. Okay.
Back.
All right, we're back. Okay, so next question is, who are your cinematic influences and how do they inspire or inform your creative process?
Definitely Spike Lee, right? Spike Lee is one of my heroes. I would say as well. And those are huge. Can you hear me?
You're just freezing up a little bit.
Yeah. And we're live too. I'm so sorry about this, man.
No problem.
All right. Yeah. Okay,
I think we're better now.
Okay, cool. So
you're saying
Martin Scorsese, Spike Lee, those are like my cinematic influences. Stanley Kubrick is a huge inspiration. And the framing and things of that sort, I just loved how he approached lighting his characters and lighting his scenes. Those are huge influences of my work. And then last but not least, I'm an avid reader. And I think the imagination gets to run as you read a lot. You build worlds. So for me, that allows me to kind of see frames or in shots, if you will. So my imagination. Yeah.
I totally understand. So your digital series, The Therapist and Black Boots, have received acclaim. Can you elaborate on the inspiration behind these projects and what they mean to you?
The Therapist, is something that was my first baby. Is going on to produce an array of talent. KJ Smith, who's her lead in Sisters, that was her first project, and I'm happy to have cast her in that. Isaac Keys is going on to he's Diamond and Force. If you want to watch Power, these were their that wasn't his first. This was probably his first narrative project. Now that I think about it, he had been on a reality show, but so I'm extremely proud of The Therapist just because of how many people that has helped, and put in position. And then last but not least, Black Boots, same thing. Michelle Mitchenor, Miles Greer, Courtney Burrell, all of these people have gotten their first, well, not Miles, but a lot of them got their first opportunity with us, and they've gone on to do some amazing things. So for me, it was easy for me to kind of break into the storytelling world from things that I went to school with, because that was, they always say start off with something that right?
Absolutely.
And then grow with the growing pains with that. And then as far as Black Boots, I'm in the Greek organization. I'm in the greatest fraternity of all time, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So that was really inspired by my process, if you will, or just I want to say my process. How can I legally say this? That just inspired by times and information that, that I gathered along the years. But it was really about my experience on the HBCU campus. That's really what it was about. And the greatest thing I feel good about is just because I was able to create a world in Los Angeles where you would have a HBCU that doesn't exist. So we shot on campus of USC and UCLA, and being able to create a world that doesn't necessarily exist in LA, I was extremely proud of how that came about.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So your work often features diverse voices. Mm-hmm. How do you approach inclusivity and representation in storytelling, and why is it important to you?
Well, I'm Black, I'm proud, and people of color, just I think, we create the culture. So I just want to make sure that I have my hand in giving opportunity to people of color, in front of and behind the camera. And then I just think we're the coolest of all, right? So, and we picture great. We look amazing on camera. I just love that melanin. But I'm for everyone. But when it comes to giving opportunities for people of color, I just really lean into that. And diversity is extremely important because if we don't tell our stories, who will? You know what I mean? Who are these creators? Of course, one day I'll probably be directing a white show, and I'm cool with that, and I love those. But I just want to make sure that, I build my skill set with the people that I love, and I want to highlight, it's really relevant what I'm trying to say. I want to make sure I want to highlight us and give us an opportunity.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how do you navigate the balance between staying true to your artistic vision and the demands of commercial success? Sometimes, or how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a funny question. It's funny because I'm launching a vlog of mine, and it's about my journey. Mm-hmm. There was a part of time where I felt like, I'm extremely, extremely talented, and why am I still waiting on opportunity? I've proven myself, right? And that kind of goes into why I started creating, which I'm sure we'll talk about, opportunities for, newer talents and people of color. But I just try to do what I love to do. I try to diversify the opportunities to show that I can, You know, there's no genre that I can't direct. There's no genre. Well, it's probably a genre I can't write, but there's no genre I can't direct. You know what I mean? And I just try to shoot my shot and build my muscle uh, by doing, you know, as much as I possibly can independently. So I'm ready for my commercial success and opportunity. But I'm not driven by the masses accepting me at all, because I get so much fulfillment in telling the stories that I love to make. You know, it'll just be a bonus that I'm able to tell stories at a wider range, at a larger platforms. You know what I mean? That would just be a bonus for me at this point in my career.
What is your favorite genre?
My favorite genre is definitely drama. I come from that. But what I've fell in love with lately is like dark comedy. You know, those kind of, you know, like realism comedy where, you know, like Atlanta, for example. It's a comedy that's based in a real situation. Those are type of that's like I'm falling in love with that space. But, you know, drama is where I hang my hat. You know,
Okay.
yeah.
So Artistic Standard TV is a significant venture. How did the idea for the digital streaming network come about, and what impact do you hope it has on the industry?
I laugh just because, like, man, when I created it, I think I was like your previous question. I was, you know, in addition to being successful, I thought mainstream was the way, right? But, you know, I've been a part of the independent space for quite some time. When Lena and Issa was getting started, we were all creating in the same space, if you will.
Mm.
So, so for me, my goal with the Artistic Standard is to have a space where I could create my own material and content for the people that love what I do, right? Now, that's what I care about. Before, it was how can I produce what I do? You know, because if I could just rewind it a bit, Artistic Standards TV, like when I was creating web series and short films, there was really no true way to monetize those things,
Mm.
right?
Right.
So at the time, me and my business partners at the time, we came up with a model where we would write short films we would write web series, which are long versions of short versions of TV series online. What we would do is we would have short versions of those episodes. So let's say the episode is 18 minutes. Then what we would do is we would have what you call a shorty version, right? And then an extended version. So what we were doing was our model was we would release the shorty version free to YouTube. And at the end, we'll drop them on a hook where we're like, oh man, what happened next? Then at the end of that, there's please go to our VOD website so you can check it out, see the extended version so you can see what happened. So for me, independently, we were killing it at the time because it was a newer model. It wasn't many people out there. It wasn't as many streaming opportunities. So we made great money. So I wasn't really chasing the masses. It was just like, how can we do what we love and make as much money independently as we possibly could, so we could, you know, fund our features.
You can keep doing what you love.
He was just putting money back into what we were doing. Like literally, we had 20 shows, 10 episodes a piece, 20-minute episodes. Like we were killing it at the time. So
what was the time frame for that?
2010 is when I really got going with web series. 2013 is when we introduced our VOD model. Yeah, so from there to like 2017, we had an amazing run independently. So a lot of people was out. So here's how what people normally used to do it. They would go put up like a short version of something, or here, can you please donate to my project, right? So we would do it in reverse. We would say, hey, here's a project that I work 3 jobs to fund, right? And then on the back end, we put it into that project, and then it made us the money. So we never had to crowdfund.
Oh, that's awesome.
So while people are stagnant on that one, hey, can you give me $5,000-$10,000? I shot my whole series.
Right.
So it was, we was getting out more content, and we built over 3 YouTube channels. We had about, a little under 1 million subscribers, and in the 20s of millions of views. At some point on our paid subscription channel, we had thousands of people, that wanted to pay, $16 a month or whatever it was at the time. So yeah, it's
Wow.
pretty good. So
if you could go back and give advice to your younger self when you were just starting out, what would it be?
For me, the advice to me, then I got advice for, a younger creative. Advice for me is to keep my head down and continue to do the work, and not worry about when your opportunity is actually coming. You're creating your opportunity. So get better with every project. I didn't get accepted at USC, for example. I was butthurt. I moved to LA. I got my master's. I went to Wilberforce University for my undergrad, HBCU. Got my master's from the University of Kentucky. So I was just like, okay. And I got accepted in a doctorate program to Penn State right before I left. But I was like, I didn't want to get a doctor. I didn't want to do any more traditional education. I knew that I wanted to get into creative. So I moved to LA, and I applied to USC, and didn't know how competitive USC getting into it, the film school was. And I got rejected, and I just went on a tear, start creating my own situations. So what I would tell myself is build one, do one, and get better in every area every time you release a project. So if it was directing, I would be getting better in directing. So that's how I kind of built my way, is the repetition. So yeah.
So were there times when you did get discouraged and was kind of like, well, maybe I shouldn't be trying to do this after all? And how did you get yourself back on track when you went to that place? Like, I
definitely had a moment, and I'll share this because I think all creatives, and my talent loves me, right, and I love them back. But it was a space in my career, if I could be, I guess this is what this is for, right, for creatives being inspired. But I had a moment where I was creating all this content, and then people were taking off to the next level, right? But I didn't, right? Or to me, I didn't get to the level. I wasn't transitioning to the level that I was hoping to get to immediately, right? I'm transitioning to that space now. But it took a time. It was a time in my career where I just I got down on myself and was like, yo, what am I doing? I'm creating this opportunity for me. And God woke me up and was like, listen, this opportunity is not for you. It's for you and the people that love to do what you do. And once I figured that out, I kind of got off of that, but I did have a moment. And then so I just talked to my wife, who's my biggest champion in my world, in my life. My mother is my biggest fan, and I just got a lot of great people in my life that cared about and told me that I was, my time would come. But for about, I could tell you it was like 3 or 4 months. It wasn't long, but it was like 3 or 4 months. Creatively, I was stuck. I couldn't even do anything. So I just say, listen, have somebody in your corner. My advice to my younger self is have somebody in your corner. Speak up sooner, Geno. Keep your head down and do the work. And don't compare your success to anyone else's, because God gave them that opportunity in that time. Your time will come as long as you stay faithful. And that's what I've been on since then. And thank God I have.
That's beautiful. So what you're basically saying is that you came to the understanding that what's for you is for you, no matter how long it takes. So
to symbolize it, what's for you is for you, and don't place the weight of your gift, success on the success of others. Right?
Other people's metrics. I got you. So can you share a key lesson you learned early in your career that significantly shaped your approach to filmmaking?
Yeah, I would say Camera, I would say, that. So, okay, here's how I would say it. Most people think you have to have this big name camera or these type lenses, right? What you need to be able to do, like, see how I sat here, I was going through frustration. Now, actually, this framing is different. I gave it a Cali cock, got me something over my shoulder, right? That I know that based on how I shoot, right? But repetition taught me that. This is a much better frame for me than when I was in there with just a white wall. You get what I'm saying? So you'll never know that. So what I would just say is you don't need the best equipment. You just need to figure out your skill set and your style for how you film to be an artist. So I would say the biggest thing is I didn't need to buy a $20,000 camera to elevate my career and get better project by project. It's more about the skill set, how you direct your talent, how you write the scripts, how you frame it, how it compares to those who spend a lot of money. Because mine look just as good as someone that has spent 100,000, then I might have spent 10, 15. So I would just say how to truly maximize my budget, my opportunity, and my skill set.
So when you're on set as a director, do you allow other people to instruct your talent? Exactly. So it's come up a couple of times when I've been on set and watched other directors and maybe a producer will come on set and say something behind the director, and it's like, okay.
Well, okay, let me start off with saying there are levels to this, right?
Right.
So independently, not a chance, because I'm the best one to tell that story. In most cases, there's no one around me that knows my story. I'm a true avid studier of my script. I prep a lot. So there's no one that's going to know that skill, that project, where we're going, especially if we shoot out a sequence. No one's going to know that better than me, first and foremost. Two, I've done the work for the characters to know where I want them to go. I don't need you to kind of tell me where they're going, because most cases you shoot scenes out of sequence. Now, so no independently. Now, if I'm hired independently, there's a way to, and this goes back to your previous. These questions are beautiful, by the way. They lead to one. Another thing that I learned to answer this question is to never walk away from your set when you're on a TV show. Meaning, because I'm used to managing 20 people, right, on a smaller set, but when you're on a larger set, there's 80 people, 90 people, right? They all want to come to you and ask you a question because you're the one that needs to. So I'm getting to the question. I know I'm taking a long time.
No, you're fine.
So my point is, one of the biggest things I learned from my mentors is never walk away from your moment. Meaning, if they're setting up for a shot, if you walk away and they move a light, it might take them 15 minutes to fix that light. Now your day is behind. I'm an extreme talent. I'm time manager when it comes to being efficient. I shave off time. That's why studios love me. So then, now to answer this question, independently, absolutely not. But I will allow somebody to talk to me, walk me off. Not walk me off, but whisper in my ear and give a directive to me to then, especially if I didn't write the project. And there's a chance that I'll talk to them and I'll give a note after I get what I want. So if it's 3 takes, this is how the 2 takes I see it based on my studying this script. The 3rd take, I'll ask a creative, whoever created that or wrote that script, is there something that they want to see? So I initiate the question before they can ever walk on my set and talk to my talent. So it's an absolute no. Now on TV, producers run it. Directors are a different, if you're on a feature film, no, because you're the top dog. But on TV, producers are the top dogs. So, no. I set a precedent with my crew and my talent, and I say, hey, here's how I would love for you to deliver a note to me if said thing that you want to be seen. So I set it up like that. If they're cool with that, then we're cool. I never have it because again, I learned something early is to make sure that I communicate what my expectations are of the people around me, including top level, behind the scenes producers and things of that sort. So I never really have an issue there.
I've seen it happen on independent films, and cast are kind of like, okay, but the director said something different, and you've got some actors that'll tell you, well, that's not what the director said, and unless they told me that directly,
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking.
That creates chaos.
Mentioned that as well during her interview with Club Shay Shay, and she was talking about someone who was trying to give her direction, and she was like, that's out of order. You're disrespecting the director.
Yeah, that's totally disrespect. Now, so I think a part of direction is directing is not directing just the talent, right? It's not just to get the story told. Directing means to me to tell the best story, get the best performances, to be as most efficient, to protect the budget, right? Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, manage a whole bunch of egos. That's my job as a director. So
right,
because I know that my job is multi-layered, I approach each section a way that I would like to be held, and I set the standard for how my set is going to be run.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So since filmmaking is often filled with challenges,
yep.
Often, not often, always filled with challenges. How do you recommend aspiring filmmakers navigate obstacles and setbacks during the creative process?
The best way to do that is to make sure the best way to get beyond obstacles is to try to be as prepared as possible. Mm-hmm. Right? Often when you run into a newer director, because filmmaking and directing are two different things. A new director is usually because they can't handle something being thrown off. They can't make a quick decision to rebound. And a lot of times it's either experience that's going to get you through that, right? Or preparation with your team to then handle whatever that is, said problem, right? So I know if a talent, so my crew knows, okay, here's what we're going into. We're going to shoot today, okay? They know that. And then I say, if anything happens, someone gets late or somebody's running behind, my alternate is I'm gonna shoot over his shoulder, right? I already know who's gonna be there to the main talented, so I don't have to come back and shoot, you know what I mean, that talent. I can get that close-up beauty shot while I'm waiting on said talent to then arrive. That's just an example of how I would get the rule or how I plan for obstacles. So I would just say, just be prepared as possible. Have a plan for every scenario that you can think of that can happen. And if not, just be able to, they pay us well to, fix problems. Right. So
I guess in the filmmaking process, people don't really realize, they think you've got a good script, you've got your cast, you've got your crew. But I don't know if they really put as much thought into the whole pre-production process.
Yeah.
You talk a little bit about that. I mean, the importance of it in your process and you preparing to actually, start filming your whole, I think that's part of the problem. You came through the suggestion of, filming over the shoulder or whatever, because that was through experience. But you also part of your, like you said, your pre-production, you were like, well, if this happens, then you had a contingency plan. So can you speak, just talk a little bit about how important pre-production actually is to a successful project?
Yeah. Pre-production, and I'll be honest with you, this is one of the skill sets that's improved over the years, right? Because I was talented and I knew all, and I started in PA and acting, then PA, and so I know all facets of film. I would lean on that to fix problems versus addressing them ahead of time. So my producer is one of the greatest. My line producer is one of the greatest line producers in independent film, and his main thing is preparation, preparation, preparation. I think it's extremely important. One, you get to get a hold on the talent and see what their limitations are or their abilities are. So you can kind of plan for, hey, this actor is not as strong. So I know when I get to the scene, I'm gonna get a good take, right? Spend my time on the 2 shot versus in the beauty shot because I don't want nobody to not believe them. When it comes to crafty, I know who's handling that. Then that person knows that while I'm on set, they can't. It's someone in line, director's assistant to do said thing. Let's have a backup. All of those things. So I would just say pre-production and independent is extremely valuable. In TV, you get a week to prep, right? So a week, 2 weeks, depending on the project. And you go through everything. So I would just say that's where you make your film. That's what new filmmakers don't really understand. They start filmmaking once they get to set, right? Or once they, like you said, once they have a script, once they cast, once they get on set, that's filmmaking. No, filmmaking truly is, again, managing, making sure that you have as little mistakes that can happen as possible, and you fix those in pre-production as much as you can to come up with a plan to help yourself. So I think it's just as key, because what I found, I went into one project and they booked me off of a script that I read. Good script. It was 2 people that was writing the script though. By the time I got to pre-production, the script was different, but not in a good way, right? Had I not had that opportunity to go through pre-production and do a table read to feel what I felt when I read it individually, I couldn't have addressed it. So a part of addressing it too is like having more ears and eyes on it, just to see if you're tripping. And you talk these things through, and we were able to kind of have fix the script in a way that I felt comfortable to then move on with it. So again, pre-production is key.
Okay, as a writer, who do you have to actually sit down and read your scripts and go, okay, I know where you're going in your mind, but not necessarily conveyed in the script? I think as I write as well, I think sometimes we fill in the blanks in our head, but it may not necessarily, this character's entire background, they're what they ate for dinner last night or whatever, but it may not necessarily translate on paper.
Right.
So who do you have that actually goes back behind you and reads your, edits or gives you some input or feedback on, okay, where is this going or where did this come from? Because I think that's another issue that as independent filmmakers we have the vision in our heads, but it doesn't necessarily translate out on paper.
Yeah, great question. I have 2 people in particular that read my script all the time. One, his name is Chris Moore. He is a writer's writer. When I tell you he's a writer's writer, and he, exactly your question, I see where you're going, Geno, but this act is not hitting like I think you're explaining it to me. And here's why, right? You have to have people that love what they do, right? So if you ask me from a filmmaker standpoint, then on the filmmaker standpoint, what I'll tell you is you have to have a crew of people that love what they do. I love makeup. I love sound. I love, right? That's how I was able to grow my team based on people that love what they do. So I find people that love what they do, like script people, and Chris is one. And then 2, again, my wife used to read. I write so much now, but early she was just reading it from entertainment. Like, is this, is that? Those are the 2 people that I feel like read most of my scripts. And then my last one is my mentor, if he has time, because one of my mentors is pretty. He's an Oscar-nominated writer, so I only shoot him the projects that I feel like need next level reading. And then my manager. So it's 4 people. 2 people are vital. the last two don't get it unless the first two give me notes that I can improve on to then, because what you don't want to do is give somebody a script that hasn't been fully vetted. When you have top level readers, people that time is, money is time for them. Time is money for them. So you want to make sure that script is vetted. So I have a solid group of people that love what they do, that are extremely talented, to help me kind of break through barriers, figure out ways to get into certain situations. And then when it gets to the level that I need it, depending on what type of project it is, I'll give it to my mentor.
Okay, that being said, how long did it take you to pull your ego out of it?
Great question. You know what? More directing helped me become a better writer. And what I mean by that is because when you're in those four walls or wherever you are that you write, it's you in that story, right? But as I started to direct more people writing other than mine, I started to kind of say, hey, I can, because as a director, I know what I need to be changed in that, or I know what I'm going to change in that, because I have I don't sign on a project unless I have final say so as a director, right? Independent. Yeah, I don't do that. Because I'm a writer as well, WGA writer, I need to say, hey, here's my final decision based on the script that you turned into me that we're going to shoot. But for me, I just say, hey, let me, now because I'm a director that helped a lot of scripts, I just do whatever's best for the story. But if it means something, I've also learned too that if it's something that I love and I fight for, I can't fight for three things. I fight for the thing that means the most to me.
That's good. That's good.
That's how I take out the ego. Is I know, like, if you come, like I have a script called King, and it's about me as a social worker in Compton, because it's personal to me. The thing that matters to me the most is my relationship with one of the foster kids that I was mentoring, but I was also obviously working as his case manager. That relationship is extremely unique and pure, right? That needs to feel like it felt when I was going through it. Everything else around that world, you can talk to me about, but that is what matters. That needs to be exactly how I felt it, how I wrote it. So that's the part. It's just like, what can you compromise? And I learned that from my mentor, Virgil Williams, is that, you can't have everything you want in it. You just got to fight for the things that matter most to you. So, yeah.
That's good. So what advice do you have for filmmakers in terms of crafting compelling and engaging stories that resonate with audiences?
There's a way to do it. You can approach it systematically, meaning like, technically, systematically as well. Technically, where do I have enough of this in this story to hit certain genres or certain metrics to make somebody feel something? Do I see this kind of character that's in the world represented? You can write like that, right? Or you can write what matters the most to you, right? And then get hella notes on it, get more and more notes on it. And then it develops into a real world script, because you have more eyes on it. You've worked through more drafts of it. You know what I mean? So I would just say, if you're worried about the connection to people, do the work, right? Because it'll resonate to those once you've gone through the proper amount of drafts. But as far as compelling, I say any story, right? Because people love to tell you, hey, I want to tell this story because I went through it, because it's my story and it's compelling, right? Just like the King story. It's not about exactly how it happened. It's a concept of what I went through in the relationships that I had, building that while I was in social worker, as I was dreaming to be a TV writer and director. That's what it's called. That's the space. So for me, all I cared about, how rich are these characters? Because if I can do that, if you like fall into Yusef, right, the young kid that's a foster kid, then I've done my job. Because you want to follow his journey, you want to see what's going to happen to him next, and because the main character, which is me, right? Well, a version of me, cares about this kid and his longevity and his protection of things that he was going through, then you're going to follow us through this world. So focus on characters, right? And it'll work. Don't worry about the metrics, because if you do the right drafts, amount of drafts, the people that's going around you. Again, it's a great question. Just came from the last question. Have the people that help you curate that story, get it to where it needs to be. I think that's what I'll tell anybody. Tell rich stories. Tell rich characters. Develop rich characters. Yeah.
I guess from my point of view, this is a pretty relevant question. As a writer,
yeah,
is your script ever done? I mean, I think you can write it and you're just like, oh, it's perfect. And then you go back and read and go, I could have done so-and-so. So do you ever feel like it's
no, I'm gonna say no.
When do you stop? When do you go, okay, that's enough?
There you go. I would say no, because no, if you love that story, no, if you tell that story, because I was just tweaking something that I wrote 3 years ago that I already shot, right? But there is a version that say you have to get out of your way and just allow the actors to do it. You got to trust them to do their job.
Right.
You get what I mean? So, because the right director is going to also get what you need for that story, help that script. But, you'll also have what you poured into it. So you'll have a marriage between you, and if you have, somebody that really can pull a story from that script, it'll get it to where it needs to be. So if from a technical standpoint, writing it for me, if I go past my script right now, I'll open it and I'll probably read a scene. I read scenes, right? And scenes inspire me. Like, man, I had this scene about the last conversation I had with my grandma, right? Sometimes I want to read that script just to feel like what I felt like during that time. And then I'll fix it. I'll tweak it. So no, but yes. You gotta, as a producer now, out of my titles, now as the producer, I need that script. Right? You've done your job as a writer. Trust me, as a producer, we got an amazing director lined up for it, even if it's not me, right? As a producer, I realize that I'm not the director for every project.
Okay.
So no, I don't think it's ever technically done, but I also think there's a version that you have to push out to get the story into the world because you want people to learn about it.
Absolutely. Well, I think we are about to run out of time. So can you tell me where we can stay updated with your projects?
Great question. So we didn't get a chance to say, it's funny because TV show Johnson that I wrote and directed is now streaming on Hulu. So if you hadn't had a chance, that's not in my bio. But literally we just went live to Hulu. It's about 4 brothers, not technical brothers, but their last name is Johnson. They're 4 best friends that went to the same grade school, in the same classroom, and realize they have the same last name, but they're not related. And it's basically it's like the male Sex in the City based in Atlanta, and it's now streaming on Hulu. So I would love for everybody to go check that out. It's 3 seasons available on Hulu now. But I would just say you could go to Hulu. You can follow me on my Instagram. That lets you know what my next project is. I'm directing a pilot for Keke Palmer's project. For a production company. I'm gearing up for that. And then there's also obviously my website. It's theartisticstandard.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank everyone who gave a little bit of your Saturday morning or afternoon to our speaker series. Please make sure that you stay tuned for the next speaker series event next month, and stay updated with MPAC on all social media. Thanks again, Geno. It was a pleasure.
No problem. Thank you for the grace and all the things that happened, guys. Hopefully I gave you some value. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it.
You're right.
This is Thomas Miles, nephew Tommy from the Steve Harvey Morning Show. As a radio personality, comedian, actor, and producer, I know what type of hard work and dedication it takes to make an impact in the world of arts and entertainment. MPAC Performing Arts Collective, a nonprofit for visual and performing arts, is doing just that. MPAC's mission is to cultivate the interests of visual and performing arts by exposing, educating, and entertaining. MPAC is dedicated to the formation of avenues into the professional world of arts and entertainment through several of its programs, including It's a Rap, Playhouse Theater, and MPAC Jazz. Through these programs, MPAC has launched film festivals, TV forums, music symposiums, comedy series and showcases, jazz shows, theater productions, acting and comedy workshops, and much, much more. All in an effort to create platforms for emerging talent and create access to industry insiders in an effort for those seeking careers in arts and entertainment to be successful. As a proud member of its advisory board, I would like you to support MPAC as a volunteer or as a donor. Please visit impact-arts.org today.